What's going on, guys? I'm Pete, and welcome to Retro Game Attic. I recently went on a work trip to Virginia Beach, and as always, I try to scope out local retro game stores in the area. I luckily stumbled across Video Game Heaven. It's a local chain with a few locations, as well as a sister store, Cool Stuff. I ended up visiting the Virginia Beach Video Game Heaven location since it was the closest to where I was. The store looked pretty promising from my online research. I immediately was drawn to that Castlevania-style typeface choice for the store's logo. I didn't know why, but I knew this place was going to be awesome. Video Game Heaven is situated in a nice little strip mall off of a pretty busy highway. As soon as I rolled up, I was greeted by that awesome store logo. Front and center of the store was a discount table with a bunch of cheap NES, Genesis, Super NES, Game Boy, PS2, Xbox, and Wii games. All the games were priced around $4 through about $10 each. I immediately snagged Target, Renegade, and Infiltrator for the NES since they were so cheap and I didn't have them already. The left side of the store was home to various collectibles, plushes, puzzles, candies, and other various gaming-related swag. Now all of it is pretty cool in its own right, but I rarely pick up stuff like this, and I was just here for the games. Bonus points for the awesome retro arcade / movie theater style carpet that was throughout the store. It's kind of similar to the carpet that was in the limited run retail store, and it's a nice touch. There were several display cases throughout the right side of the store stocked with various games from Atari to Xbox. I know it's a corny saying, but it's totally true. I made sure to look through each display case, but I usually tend to gravitate towards the NES, Super NES, and various Sega stuff. All of the display cases were well stocked and seemed super organized. There was also a sweet period-correct old-school Nintendo display case on the back wall that housed various Super Nintendo games. And as expected, there was a nice selection and variety of the various PlayStation consoles, all of the Xbox and Nintendo stuff. The Sega display case was a little lacking in the Sega CD, 32X, and Saturn games, but that's kind of to be expected. Maybe the other locations have a more robust selection, but I wasn't about to drive around to find that out. And some of the game prices were a little steep though, in my opinion, especially for some NES, SNES, and Genesis games. I totally get that the store must charge a premium over online outlets due to overhead. Maybe I'm just out of touch and some of these games command higher prices now. I also noticed the prices for some individual controllers were a bit high. But then I thought back to my last video where I cleaned that nasty PS1 controller. It is for sure pretty labor intensive to clean these things up and refurbish them, which would justify the high price. Trust me, I'm not going to knock them for that, I totally get it. I was considering picking up Contra Hardcore for the Genesis, but I couldn't justify the $150 price tag when it's about $100 or so complete on eBay. I don't mind spending some extra cash to support the local game store, but not with a $50 markup. I was also eyeing up Comix Zone, but it was just a loose cartridge. I believe that since this was a later Genesis release, it was only offered with a cardboard box in lieu of the hard case, which would explain why I don't see many complete in-box copies of it in the wild. I didn't notice anything on the more obscure side like the CDI, Neo Geo, or anything like that. I was impressed to find a nice little assortment of Atari Lynx games though. I've only seen a Lynx once in the wild and have never even played anything on it. I have an analog pocket that can play Lynx games with an adapter, so in hindsight, I probably should have picked some of these games up. I went to Video Game Heaven in the late afternoon on a weekday, and there was still a steady stream of people in the store throughout the 15 or so minutes I spent in there. I ended up just getting Infiltrator and Target Renegade on NES, and upon my checkout, the store employee informed me that it's actually buy two, get one free on the cheap games. So I snagged Defender of the Crown on NES as well. Another game I didn't have, and I didn't see it on my first perusal of the NES games, so it worked out. All in all, I picked up 3 NES games at Video Game Heaven for $10.58. Their combined prices on price charting is almost $22, so that's about a 50% savings, which is pretty nice. This is also a sign of a good game store. The price stickers are on the cartridge, not the actual labels. So many retro game stores get this wrong, and it's nice to see a store not plastering stickers on the game's labels. 2 days later, I decided to check out Video Game Heaven's sister store, Cool Stuff, also in Virginia Beach. Cool Stuff pretty much had the same vibe as Video Game Heaven, but with what seemed like a larger emphasis on collectibles, but still with a solid selection of retro games from various consoles. I ended up snagging Animal Crossing Happy Home Designer on 3DS. This is another game I just never picked up, and with 3DS games becoming increasingly rarer, I said, why not? And finally, the last item I picked up in Virginia Beach was an SNES Classic controller. I saw it listed on the local Facebook marketplace for 15 bucks, and I offered the seller 10, which they accepted. I feel like it's always good to have a few extras, especially since you're able to connect the SNES Classic controller to the Wii remote to play ROMs. So all in all, I snapped up 3 NES games, 1 3DS game, and 1 SNES Classic controller while on my trip. I would personally recommend Video Game Heaven over Cool Stuff any day, solely because I am biased towards games, but honestly, you can't go wrong with either store. I could really tell that these stores were more organized and professional operations than some of the other retro game stores that I've been in, which made for a nice shopping experience. I was super pumped to be able to check out Video Game Heaven. Don't take my complaining about the higher prices as not liking the store. Like I said, I know these stores have overhead, plus maybe that's just what retro games go for in that area. I'm kind of at that stage in my collecting where I've had most of the games that I've wanted for some time, and I'm not used to those high sticker prices. Either way, make sure to check out Video Game Heaven if you're ever in the Virginia Beach area for a solid retro gaming shopping experience. Please be sure to let me know what you guys think in the comments, and thank you so much for checking out Retro Game Attic. I seriously appreciate you all, have an awesome day, and I will catch you on the next one.